today's little shed tinkering is doing an oil change on my GSXS 1000F. First time I've attempted this, and first time I've put it on my hydraulic lift table to work on it. First time I've put any bike on my lift table to work on it. Now, I have watched a few videos which don't actually show the process, but are keen to say that you can get the oil filter out without taking off the fairing. And I'm assuming it's by undoing this belly pan. Well, it's not belly pan, it's just a face plate. Undoing that and pulling this fairing out enough away from the exhaust to drop the oil filter out. So I'm going to attempt that. If not, I'm sure it's if it's like the other Suzukis I've had fully faired, it's the left hand fairing that needs to come off. So if that's a fail, this fairing is coming off. So let's give that a go first. Alright, first the plastic rivet and see where we go from there. I'll undo the two side bolts in the fairing. Right, this is going to be difficult to show you. It's already looking like there's enough pull there to get the filter out. Trouble is, there's two clips down here, and it looks like one needs pulling towards and one needs pushing out pretty much at the same time. So we'll try that and see what happens. I'd like to show you, but I don't think I'm going to get you at any sort of angle to get you in there. Okay, so I got that apart. There was a lot of faffing, but what I actually did was I came up from underneath. Can you see that? Yeah, underneath with a screwdriver, and just pulled this tab away from this one, and then was able to pull it apart. But it still leaves it awkward to get the filter out. Okay, so long as I can get my filter tool in there, I think I'll be able to get the oil filter out this side. But it is going to be testing. And the other side of it is, if that filter's on too tight for that filter wrench, because they do tend to jump round on the, what would you call it, spliny bits, I need to get a filter wrench in there, filter strap in there, which might be a complex operation. But I'll get the oil catch can, oil drain tray in place, and a spanner ready to undo the sump plug and start draining it. I'm not going to warm the oil up. This bike has been stood overnight. Since when? 6 o'clock last night, and it's now about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's had a good 18 hours to drain down, so I don't see any point realistically in warming the oil up when everything should be down in the sump, or 99% of it will be down in the sump anyway. So I'm not going to warm it up, and also it keeps my headers nice and cool, so if I've got to mess around with this filter, I'm not going to worry about burning myself. But yes, I'm not going to warm it up. Up to you how you take that, really. It's the first time I've ever not warmed a bike up to do an oil change, but as I say, 18 hours of sitting there, 99% of the oil is going to be in the sump anyway, so I'll just let that drain out. I'll get the oil drain can and start draining oil. Okay, I've just cracked off the sump plug with a 17mm socket. So now it's just hand tight. you go, very black oil. A few granulations on the end of the sump plug. A few granulations on the end of the sump plug, but nothing to worry about. It's not like there's a whole gear tooth on there or anything. Right, now get that crush washer off and fit a new one while that drains out. Okay, I've loosened it off. I had too many arms in there for you to see what was going on. Oh, but that's what kept happening. The filter wrench bit doesn't grip quite as nicely as you'd like it. There you go, that wasn't too bad. I thought it was going to be a lot messier than that. Still have oil content in there. There's definitely a lot more room this side than that side. So the people who I saw and the forums I read were right about the left hand side being uncoupled. It just gives you that extra little bit of hand room just to be able to get the filter out. I wouldn't have liked to have attempted this on the floor. Having the height is lovely. If I was laying on the floor doing this, I think the fairing would have had to come off, to be honest. But I've done it without the fairing coming off, so I'm quite pleased about that. Right, I'll just let that drain out, and then obviously the new filter needs going on, and sump plug needs doing up, and then we need some oil. Well, we don't. My bike does. Right, I think that's fully drained now. I've left that a good 20 minutes or so. Nothing coming out from the bottom anymore. So, the start of the replacement. And I'm replacing it with X-Star, which is Suzuki's own brand of oil. R7000, which is the semi-synthetic. R9000 is the fully synthetic. I'm going semi-synthetic, always have in my bikes. But I always used to do Castrol Power 1. And after reading a few forums and everything, people were saying that this makes your gearbox a bit smoother. And one of the things I'm finding with this GSXS 1000F is it really does clonk into first gear when it's cold. So I'm going to try this and see if that smooths that out at all. So first thing, oil filter and some fresh oil around the seal, or else I believe what happens is the dry seal will bind up quick and you'll get a false reading of your torque setting or whatever guide you use. But there you go, bit of fresh oil around the edge. Right, and I am going to torque it up because I can't get my hand in there properly. You know what, that ain't 20 newton meters, but that's tight enough. Okay, that's that on there. As I say, the book is saying 20 newton meters for that, and the torque wrench is set to 20 newton meters, and it didn't go click. And the other thing it says in the book is when the rubber seal touches, 2 more full turns. and I'm pretty sure I gave it at least 2 more full turns. As I say, that didn't equal 20 Newton meters, and I don't want to go anymore. It just seemed to be getting far too tight. So I'm going to leave that at whatever torque setting it is at. As I say, I'm pretty confident that was 2 full turns. It's very difficult thing to judge with the fairing on. So one of the downsides of still having your fairing on is you can't get your hand in there and actually feel what you're doing. As I say, I usually pinch it up by hand, tight, and in my mind I sort of know where I want to be with that. So yeah, I'm 99.999% confident that that's tight enough. If anything, probably a bit tighter than I do normally. So I'll do the sump plug up, get the oil in, and I'll see if there's any leaks. It's the only real way to test that. Okay, so I've just put it on hand tight at the moment, and this is meant to be, according to the book, 23 Newton meters. Let's see how confident I am of achieving that. 20. Right, 23 Newton meters. That's the wrong one for that. So you got to give it a little bit for the crush washer to crush, which doesn't take much. That feels like the crush washer's just gone. There you go. Definite click, 23 Newton meters. Good enough. Right, round the other side now to start topping up with oil. Okay, on the side of the engine it says 2.8 litres. The book says 2.8 litres, and that's for just an oil change. Obviously I've done the oil filter as well, so it wants a bit more. Generally speaking, oil filter is about 0.4 of a litre. So I'll stick 3 litres in, run it, and then top up from there. Okay, so that's 3 litres in there. Now I'm going to get it down so it's level. So clear all these tools and everything away, get it down level, and then do a proper check on it. Give it a bit of a run to get it through the oil filter, let it settle, and then recheck. So tidy up time. That's the tidying up done. So now just got to start it up and let it run for a while, get the oil circulating, switch it off and recheck it. Always a good sign when the oil light goes out. Right. Switch that off. Okay, I'll switch that off. Let it cool down, let it drain down. In fact, I'll go for some lunch while the shed clears of fumes, and then come back out and recheck the levels. Back in the shed after a nice lunch. Let the bike cool right down, and I've just checked the level and topped it up by where are we down to? About there, so about 200 litres. 200 litres? No, I don't think so. 0.2 of a litre, which has left it, see, between the full and low. It's just underneath full, and the bike is pretty much level on this lift. And then double checked the sump plug, which is showing no signs of leakage, which is good. Exhaust has got a nice bit of oil on it. And then check the oil filter, which is hidden in there. Just get my hand up underneath. Where is it? Up in there. Give it a wipe around the edge, and nothing showing. So all good. So all I've got to do now is pinch this fairing back together, and it's all done. Marvellous. I don't think I'll bore you with that side of things. You can't really see properly with me doing that. Just the reverse of ripping it apart. But there you go. My first oil change on my GSXS 1000F. There you go, GSXS 1000. Where is it? 1000F. And the first use of my Clark Strong Arm CML3 lift. Very successful. That's it, oil change done. Yes, you can do it without taking the fairing off. Next time I will probably take the fairing off, just so I can get in there better and have a bit of a nose in there. I will be doing oil changes every sort of 3,000 to 4,000 miles because of the way that I use the engine. I think in the book it recommends 3,500 miles between oil changes if you're being rather harsh with it, which I'm sort of in that category. Not all the time, but enough that I think regular oil changes aren't going to hurt all the time. I can afford it, so that's what I'll do. Failing that, if you're just cruising around on it, I think they reckon about 7,000 miles between oil changes, which is quite lovely. Anyway, I'll stick to my regime, you stick to yours, and perhaps I'll see you again. Thanks for watching. Ta-ra.